Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. And man, I have an absolutely good episode for you today. This episode, I had an idea to do after just wondering myself personally, what's going on with young Mr. Zaire Wade these days. And obviously, given like all the chatter and what have you on Scuttle, what have you, being kicked up around Bronny James being in the league, I was like, well, whatever happened to Zaire? And then I saw this video clip where he had sat down with his dad, Dwyane Wade, NBA legend, NBA Great Hall of Famer. Now has an ugly statue of himself outside of the arena in Miami. But that notwithstanding, he and his pop sat down and interviewed, and he's just kind of shared some things that I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to do a bit of a reaction to that, and also get into what's happened to him since that interview, or what's happened with him and through his development. Better put. But before I do so, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Also, click that notification bell to be notified as to when my newest content is going up. And lastly, click the like button on this video so that we might cruise along Algorithm Avenue. And the content might end up in the presence of those who are like you, looking for this kind of content. So without further ado, man, I'm going to title today's episode, Zaire Wade's Reality Checks Keep Bouncing. Man, this brother's having a tough time or tough go with it, as to be expected when you charter a new course in a new industry or you pursue your dreams on a high level. So what Zaire is experiencing is no different than what every NBA or NBA hopeful or a person hopeful of a doctorate or to be a doctor exactly, or to be a lawyer, or whatever career path you decided to embark on. There's a lot of hope that goes into it and a lot of hard work that must be put in to achieve the ultimate goal. And this young brother is really going through it, man. Those reality checks are crazy. They're just bouncing like the ball in his hand. However, again, as I kind of alluded to, there's just some footage that I was able to capture. I clipped a little bit of this interview from the WY network, I believe it is. That is Dwyane Wade's channel here on YouTube. And so I just wanted to share a bit of that and do a bit of a reaction to some of it, not all of it. It's about a 45-minute long interview initially. What I'll do is I'll link the original interview in the description in case you just want to bypass all my blah, 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 and you just want to listen to it yourself, or in case you want to take a listen for the rest of the content that I'm not going to share here. Because I only clipped about 15 minutes of the 45, so it's about another 30 minutes that you can enjoy. However, man, let's get right into it and listen to what's going on in the young life of Zaire Wade.
Well, Z-Wade, man, we just was doing check-ins. And so before we get this conversation going, we want to check in with you, young man. It could be about anything.
Yeah.
So what's going on in your life, man? What you feeling? What's your mental? What's your state?
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Man, life, man. I'm taking it day by day right now. Enjoying the close friends around me, keeping the family close, of course. Training really takes up half my schedule nowadays. Just trying to keep my dream alive, keep working towards something. And besides that, I'm trying to get into the content world. So hence my first time on the pod, got a new YouTube, you know what I'm saying? I just did a little self-promotion there. But besides that, yeah, just, it's taking day by day.
Explain that a little bit more. You said getting up, working out, keeping your dream alive.
Keeping that dream alive.
Talk about what that dream is. Talk about what that schedule is, what that mentality is to be able to not only keep your dream alive, but the everyday of it.
Yeah. Well, the dream for me, since, I can remember, is being an NBA player. I'm 22 now. And what I mean by keep it alive is just continue to believe in myself, For me, to get up every day, let's say it's whatever, 7 o'clock, at least every day. I'm in the gym first with Chris, with Corey. down at Just Hoop. Go from there, get some weight training in, some treatment. Then I try to circle back later on in the day, whether it's to shoot again or train one more time in the weights. But really just try to keep that consistent schedule going. Just keep my mindset right, keep it sharp. There's days where it gets dim, some days you get up and you're like, what am I doing this for, essentially? Because it's like you look up and there's months that went by and you doing it repetitive schedule, but you got to find a joy in it. You got to challenge yourself. I think that's what it is. Like, okay, let me do something different today. I couldn't do it, last week, or set a new goal this week. Like for me, trying to reach a weight goal, necessarily. So just been having fun with that lately, challenging myself. So, yeah, it's cool. It's a fun journey.
Your story's not like everyone else's story trying to make that same dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you think about it? Like, how does that feel for you? Like when you look at it, like my dad, dad ain't just an average basketball player, right? He's in the Hall of Fame, right? So, but for you, how do you separate? How do you ground yourself and still chase that dream every day? Like you said, months go by.
I think it started when I dropped the comparison myself. Honestly, obviously, you want to be like Pops growing up. I still do it as far as just being a successful man, a father. But basketball-wise, like, I was telling him the other day, like, even some of the moves he did is just impossible replica. Me messing around in the gym with no defenders. So, like, just trying to embrace who I am. And just remembering, like, Pops telling me stories when I was in 5th grade doing the passes I was doing. Just me just trying to get back to, like, okay, that was me. That's who Zaire Wade is. And, like, I know that guy, can make his dream come true if I get back to him rather than trying to replicate somebody else. So I think that's where it started for me. And then from there, it's about embracing his accomplishments, versus trying to like shadow away from or, be compared to him. It's more like, yeah, my dad's in the Hall of Fame. You're right. Like, so, I got greatness in me, right? So just embracing it at the end of the day, just looking at it like that versus any other way.
I got greatness in my DNA.
Oh, that's a bar, bro.
I got greatness in my DNA. We talked about that, right? Like, Z and I have had many.
Before Dwyane goes in, I want to jump in real quick. Because what we just heard was a bit of extensive thought process, speaks to the mentality and the mindset that this young brother has, man, young Zaire Wade. I'll admit that this is my very first time ever even just hearing him speak, at length. And, the first thing that I can be touched by is that this brother definitely sounds like he has a really good head on his shoulders. He's focused. You know what I mean? He's self-aware and definitely aware of directionally where he wants to go. And I can appreciate that from a very hearing it. I mean, from a very young person, a very young brother, man. It's, kudos to Dwyane and his mom for doing a good job, man, raising him. They've raised a seemingly decent young man. You understand what I mean? I don't know him personally, but I'm just saying from the standpoint of how grounded in reality he seems to be. You know what I mean? I was very impressed when I listened to, just like kind of him talk through his goals, his plans, and the training regimen and things of that nature. So shout out to Zaire Wade. Pops wants to go in here and start saying some stuff. So let's get back to D Wade.
We've had many conversations, and I don't know how to help him navigate it neither. Like, I didn't go through it. And so a lot of things, he's going through a lot in our family with the Wade name is a first, just like I went through first. Yeah. And, the cool thing is that I'm able to be here to help navigate, but understanding as he become an adult, as they get older, you have less and less of the moments to pour into, but making sure that every moment we have, I pour into, and what sometimes pouring into is just listening. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, we've had times as Zaire's been older now, I just got to listen. Yeah. And when he was younger, it was me talking, he was listening. And so it's cool when he's on his journey and he's telling you how he sees it and you watching him go out and do it the way that he sees it. And I understand he has a lot of people around him that can help him get there, but the only way he's going to complete the picture is if it's the picture that he's envisioned for himself, because he know every aspect of it. We don't. True. And so it's cool being able to be on this side as a dad and to see this kid on this journey, You know what I mean? Like, it's a journey, and he's 22 years old. But also, too, like, we've been watching him and following him for so long. I always tell Z, I say, Z, you're my favorite basketball player. And he might not understand. Like, Jordan was my favorite basketball player. He don't play anymore. But the player that I get excited to see more than anybody is Z Wade. You know what I mean? Because I love the way that he plays the game when he allows himself to let his hair out and just be free. So can you walk the listeners through the process?
So before D Wade gets into that question, because now he's gonna, you know, have him explain, you know, a different perspective on his process for actually getting ready. But I want to go back to what D Wade, you know, was expressing himself, and you know, like not having the answers as a parent, not being able to really and truly, you know, direct a person on their path because you've never actually walked the path. Then it's a very humbling thing as a parent to be like, I mean, I had my own journey in my own way, but honey, to my daughters, you know what I mean? Son, like you just gotta go for it. You know what I mean? To like whatever you do, it has to fit the vision that you have, you know what I mean, for what you want to do. And I can't really advise you on it, except to say there's some principles that you need to put in place, man. And if you just, you know what I mean, charter a course based on those firm principles, then, you know what I mean, you should be okay. But let's get back to, I just wanted to point that out of D Wade, and it makes sense as I, you know, stopped the video before to listen to Zaire, you know what I mean, like what Zaire said, and then what D Wade is saying as, you know, kind of confirmation to why he's, you know, such a good young man being Zaire Wade. But to D Wade,
what it's going to take for you to reach that dream, and not the process of the day-to-day. We understand that the work got to be put in. But outside of that, what are the steps for you as a basketball player, for any basketball player out there, where you are right now at 22? What's next?
Yeah.
You know, what's the next step that you're going to take so you can eventually get to the dream? And that's, you know, obviously to put that jersey on one day, that NBA jersey.
Yeah. I think a lot for me starts physically, just as a whole, because as you see, I mean, obviously the NBA game is different now. You do see guys that are a little more, I only want to say skinny, but it's not so much like a football league.
Wiry?
Right. Yeah, you see some wiry guys out there. So it's not so much like gang, but it is about being strong, being able to play with those grown men as I am.
You play with a lot of them in the summertime.
Yeah. So just being able to hold my own, like, you know, this summer was a good test. I feel like I took some bumps. I took some good bumps that I wouldn't been able to take before. So that was a big step for me. Two, which I think probably the biggest thing for me is mental, right? Just shifting that whole mental to be a professional, right? To envision myself to be one of those guys. So a friend of mine told me, like, on a day-to-day basis now, like, how do you go about life away from training? Like, do you live like a pro? Do you eat like a pro? If you're in the NBA right now, would you be doing that same stuff you're doing now? Right. And it doesn't really mean like having the same financial budget, let's say, but just like the stuff that you can control.
Yeah.
So fixing those habits. And then I would say on the court, just finding, like, you know, obviously there's a few things that I feel like I can contribute to any team, but like finding something that I don't even want to say, I don't want to use the wrong word here, but like really, really, really good at. You know, everybody has that one thing that, you know, when they get, that they can offer to a team.
Yeah.
Rather, you know, so finding that and then playing off of that. Obviously, we know my IQ, what it's always been, but just trying to be somebody something.
So you played in the G League at 19. You didn't go to high school. I mean, you didn't go to college.
Yeah.
Right? Sierra Canyon as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Got injured. We're going to go down your timeline.
Okay.
You got injured your senior year.
Well, let's start Heritage.
Okay, junior year.
I was doing, yeah.
All right. Great junior year. Over 20 points a game. A lot of schools interested. Some interest.
Tough summer.
Tough summer.
Mental
summer. Yeah. Really tough summer for you. 18, big school, Sierra Canyon. Mm-hmm. Players that's in the pros right now. Actually, 3 players that's in the pros
Shout out
right
to
now.
the guys.
Shout out to BJ. Shout out to Zaire Wade. And shout out to Bronny.
Yeah, and Amari. 4
players in the pros.
AB.
On your high school team.
Yes, sir.
You get injured. Don't have the year you want. Go to Brewster for the next year. COVID.
Shout out to Devin Carter.
Go with Devin Carter to Brewster. Shout out to Devin Carter. Got drafted by the Sacramento Kings. So now that's another teammate. That's 5 teammates.
I got 5 of them.
That's in the pros.
I got started 5 teammates.
Some cold dudes.
I got some cold dudes.
Brewster, pandemic, not really a lot to do there.
Tough.
Come out of that, and we make a decision to forego going to college and to start the journey for pro.
To be a pro.
To be a pro. And knowing that was going to take a lot of steps to get there, it was going to be a tough journey. So we go to the G League at 19.
Yep.
After G League season, we end up going to Africa the next season.
BAL.
BAL. Shout out to BAL.
Yeah.
And then a quick stint for like some quick action in China.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much been your journey for the last 5 years of your life. Right?
Yeah.
So what does that journey tell you about yourself? And how does that journey prepare you for what you're going to do next, which is something that we all saw hit the social airways. So
yeah, my bad about that.
No, I knew about it before. But I'm just saying.
About to say, you know, I think that just shows like I love basketball. I think that's what it is. Like what it all comes down to. I don't think it has nothing to do with, you know, what I'm getting out of it. Let's say, you know, because a lot of people play for money or whatever the case is. I think for me it was just like, you know, loving the game. And obviously during that time, like I said, with the tough summers or the mental lapses, whatever it was, there were some moments, some summers that, you know, you're sitting there and sometimes you contemplate. You're sitting there asking yourself, like, you know, like what you want to do, because you don't want to give you all to something. If you're gonna do something, you got to give you all to it. You don't want to have.
You're contemplating giving up.
Right. So contemplating giving up is a serious thing. That's when the people around you mean the most. When you can just kind of vent to them. And, you know, it's not really so much them trying to tell you, like, because of course they're going to want whatever it is for you, but really so much you just feeling, because a lot of it's bottled up for me. And it's like the media, you know, it's all getting in my head. So just having a family to express it to felt like a relief itself. And then praying, talking to God, of course, and fighting through all that just kept me going. So that just shows the love for the game.
So you think all that you've been through for this 5 years got you prepared and ready to put your name back into the G League draft, right? Which is 3 years later.
Yeah, for sure.
I think all those things that you did has prepared you for this moment.
Yeah. I think it's like, so I've been working for this, right? I think it's it's something I want to do. It's something I know I can go out there and compete for, you know? Obviously, even when we first went, it was something I wanted to do, but necessarily like this is something I took action. I was telling Josh, like, yo, I'm ready. And just in a different mindset now, just a different body, just a different person than I was in 19, you know, as a whole. So I think all that was preparation to see if I really, really could overcome everything. Like, okay, well, here you go, like battle tested.
Is there anything that any lesson you feel like you learned from your dad, or like from around the world, but like specifically from your dad that helped that you use as a North Star? That kind of like, this is the one thing I got to make sure that it's kind of kept you through this process, and as you looking for that next step, like kept you kind of going the direction you want to go in. Because, you know, the days you said that you didn't want to do this no more.
Yeah.
And them days you was like, man, why?
Right. I know, like, since I've been a kid, Pops has always said, like, only play the game if you want it. Like, it is what you want to do, right? That's always been invested in me. So I think, as cliche as it may sound, like when parents say, like, oh, you know, do it if you want to do it. Like when you can feel that that genuine love, and it's not coming from a place of like, you know, because most people in his position may be more forceful to, you know, to they firstborn to do what they did, right? Especially like we was talking about his greatness. So just like that alone throughout this whole journey, like me going to Pops, he's kind of sitting there like, he's not saying like, oh yeah, hey, like, you know, it's up to you to give up. He's sitting there like, hey, I'm gonna be here with you regardless, you know, at the end of the day, basketball or not. But I just want you to know, like, you started this game because you love it. So don't look around to, you know, see if anybody else is gonna, you know, kind of okay you in a sense. Like you gotta find that within yourself, but we all gonna be here for you. So that alone is a big off my shoulders whenever I, you know, am feeling a certain type of way. And then I feel like that was the biggest thing that kept me going, just knowing, like, at the end of the day, this is just, you know, it's been a game that I've been wanting to do since before I can remember.
Yeah, I said in my Hall of Fame speech, I said the game, you know, about what the game teaches you. And I talked about the game taught me, you know, about who's there for me when I win and who's not there when you lose. And I think when you're going down this journey, this is a lonely, lonely journey to try to accomplish something that I mean, it's kids around the world, obviously, that you'll never meet. Now, they all are waking up trying to accomplish the same thing, and there's only a select amount of spots. It's lonely to go on this journey, by yourself to accomplish it, even though you got a lot of support. But in the midst of that, we wanted him to know that this journey is his. However, his career as a basketball player that's going to be on what he puts in.
Gotcha.
And what him and God have already worked out amongst themselves, right? But the other side of it is the human, right? It's the human being, and that human being is loved, is protected, is all the adjectives that we could think of when you talk about our family. And so, Z Wade scores 20 one night, or Z Wade scores 0 one night, I may have a joke for him. But the hug is the same, right? The love is the same.
Right.
The conversation is the same. And so I've always tried to let him know that, on this journey, because I didn't know how hard it was going to be for him in life. He was my firstborn. We didn't have we didn't know. We was making it up as we went through. He's 22 years old. I've been in everybody's life since y'all have known me. It's been about 22 years. And so me and him has been riding side by side. And just the whole thing is like, me and him not turning on each other. We're not falling out. We're not doing none of that. Like me and my dad, like we rolled tight. And my dad didn't know I was going to be an NBA player. He didn't love me because I was going to turn out to be an NBA player.
True.
It just so happened I did. And so that's the same love, that we've all shown Zaire along the way, is what you do is for you, who you are. We all have a part of that. You know what I mean? We all are part of who you are. Right. We always want you to show up and feel good about, who you are, not what you do, because what you do is so, it's fickle from day to day. Even when guys are playing in the NBA, they're not happy. I know, how many NBA players that are playing, and it's a lot of kids' dreams to be on that roster spot, and those guys that's in that spot are complaining every day. They're not happy with their role.
You see the guys retiring early.
Yeah, it's about that's probably like 90% of the league. There's only a few players that's really happy with their role. And so it's not about your job. It's not about what you do, because that can change, day to day, but it's about who you are. And so that's the message that, I wanted to make sure that Zaire understood that.
Man, very powerful, just clip from that interview. Like I said, it's a 45-minute long sit down that they had, essentially talking about various different things. But that to me was kind of the meat of the sit down, because it pertains specifically to Zaire, his focus, his mindset, his mentality, his training regimen, his plan, how he game plans, how he pushes through the tough times, how he's wanted to give up. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of vulnerability in there also, which I thought was just incredibly powerful. Obviously, the flip side of that is, D Wade, and shout out to D Wade, man, for being an incredible parent, you know what I mean? And being an incredible father and present in that young man's life, and helping to steer him and guide him clearly into that space that he's presented to us, being Zaire, with just being a very, again, just consciously aware, very self-aware individual, man. I'm thoroughly impressed, by just what I observed and absorbed from, his base, so far, base of knowledge, base of understanding. And I'm obviously rooting for, him, like I'm rooting for all of you, regardless of whether I've met you in person or know you or know of you, because I know how hard it is to pursue a dream and to pursue a goal, and how much work it takes to actually accomplish it and to do great things and then to be recognized for it. And people never see the work. You know what I mean? They only see the finished product, and they want to give you credit for the finished product. And I know exactly what that's like. So, I'm wishing that for him, man, that all of his hard work at least yields some kind of a benefit to him that is sufficient, you know what I mean, for him, like he said. And like, kind of D Wade, wrapped up in saying, it's not necessarily about what you do, but who you are and who you become, you know what I mean, as a result. So I just feel like, that's the overarching point, that I wanted to just kind of, cling to from a power standpoint, you know what I mean, with that sound clip. But as they mentioned in the interview, Z Wade decides to enter his name into the G League draft, which took place just here a few weeks back, on October the 26th. But a little bit deeper, Zaire Wade entered the 2024 NBA G League draft on October 26th, 2024. Wade, the son of NBA legend Dwyane Wade, is looking to establish himself through the G League instead of going directly to the NBA. Some information about Zaire Wade in the G League draft. Now, this is his second stint in the G League, entering the G League draft. He entered the G League draft back in 2021, and Zaire was selected 10th overall and played for the Salt Lake City Stars. Now, I want to say something about this Salt Lake situation, because D Wade in this interview talked about, wearing a bit of an ownership and partnership hat in terms of the game. He is a part of the ownership group of the Utah Jazz. So there was some slight chatter I remember around 2021, like, man, D Wade bought the G League team or bought into the Utah so he could get a G League franchise there so that he could get Zaire, a spot on that team. It was I remember hearing about that, but I was like, nah, that's crazy. And clearly it never materialized into anything beyond Zaire being in the G League, but I never really knew why. And it turns out that in 2022, Zaire suffered a knee injury. And so his G League career was kind of derailed as a result. And after that, worked himself back into shape. He played 4 games, which was mentioned in the interview, also over in Africa, Cape Town, the BAL. Averaged 9.3 points a game over there. Played in the NBA Summer League. Played in the NBA Summer Leagues, averaging 8.8 points a game in the 4 games that he played there. And then the G League draft, he's entered the G League draft just this, past October. So, oddly listening to him talk about his journey, talk about his drive, his passion, his desire to want to be there to fulfill his dream, what that was going to mean to him, what it meant to him, the mental things that he's gone through and the fortitude that he's kind of had to do, not just strengthening his body, but also strengthening his mind and fighting for his dream. All that's, man, just incredibly beautiful. And again, very inspiring, for me, especially as a dad and just as a grown man now, but just remembering, being as young and having dreams and goals, etc., for myself and setting them and then shattering them. So, I'm wishing the brother the best, but he did enter that G League draft. And the results from that 2024 G League draft are as follows. There were 31 players selected in that draft. And just for a bit of context, the G League draft is a 3 rounds long typically. And each team gets 3 picks. 3 picks. The teams can either trade the picks or use them to select players if they desire, right? So that's how, that's kind of structured and formatted. But, the G League, 31 players or 30 players out of the 31 listed here were selected to G League teams. And unfortunately, I know you can't really see the names here. I think one name that I was interested in seeing was that Landry Shamet was taken number 2 in this draft. Because I was like, damn, Landry just been his brother's fighting for his NBA life. So shout out to Landry Shamet. I happen to be a fan of Landry Shamet for some of the things that he's done, whether it was with the Clippers, et cetera, in the league over the years. But one name that I did not notice on this list, and you can zoom in on it if you want, if it's a little too small for you here on the screen, was that Zaire Wade's name is not on this list. Oddly enough, there's a team that didn't select a player at all. No selection was made on that list. So I was like, damn, they could have threw that thing to Zaire, but it's like Zaire's the only player who entered the draft that didn't have his name called, right? I think Sharif re-entered his name into this draft as well, Sharif O'Neal being. And neither of their names are on this list. So I think, I wanted to point that out, not necessarily to be like, Zaire Wade didn't make it, you know what I mean, after entering his name back into this draft. 2021 is when he was drafted initially. 3 years later, it's 2024, man, and this brother's still fighting so hard. You heard from him himself on how he's fighting for this dream, and it's not easy. You know what I mean? So without having to mention another NBA player's son who was just gifted an opportunity to be in this league, I wanted to use this as a means to point out the difficulty in fighting for what you want and typically being rewarded with what you want and not just having it, just given to you undeservingly when you have others out here, man, really, really willing to put in the work. And I'm not saying that the other kid whose name I've mentioned in previous videos hasn't worked hard, but what I'm saying is that hard work, realistically hasn't bore any fruit from what we can see either. You know what I mean? And perhaps, Like I said about D Wade, you know what I mean? Shout out to him and kudos to him for his parenting style, which is by and large, you know, over anything else going to help to make a better man out of Zaire Wade, because that, you know, going through the process and not just being given a thing, you know, will help to give him, you know, some fortitude to help him garner some appreciation for the hard work that needs to be put in. You know what I mean? Like the danger to me in just being given a thing versus working for it is that if I give it to you, I just gave it to you. There's really no real value outside of, oh my God, thank you. I can't believe you gave me this thing. But there's no real value. There's more value when you have to work for it, because then you also have some knowledge on how to get it again. And so if I give it to you, the only thing you know how to do is place a call to me to say, hey, yo, Q, run me that again. But if you work for it, I don't have to give it to you. You know how to reset when times get hard and go back and fight for it again, or to get to higher levels inside of the thing that you fought to achieve. So that's power, man. And, you know, nepotism and being able to give to your kids a thing, man. But there's also much power in just showing them how to go out and get it out the mud. And, you know, much like D Wade had to get it out the mud. And so I want to end with a bit of a sound clip that, you know, I found on the internet. And I believe this was a sound clip from a sit down that he had on All the Smoke. I'm not sure exactly where. You'll just have to listen. And if you stumble across it, send me the original source. But I found it. Here it is.
I left my son on red recently.
Oh,
yeah, I ain't never had to do that before, but I had to, because I'm like, you just gonna have to figure this one out, bro. We all have different lives.
True.
One thing I do know, which is consistent, if you want something bad enough, you will do whatever you can to get that. When it ain't about doing whatever you can to get it, when you tell me you want it, I don't want to hear it. Because we can all find excuses in every turn when it comes to getting in the way of what we want for ourselves. To dream of going to NBA, you thought it was just going to be a smooth ride, bro? You thought you was going to be able to dream it and say, I want to go to NBA, and it's just going to happen? Do you know all the barriers that's going to get in the way in life so you don't get there? It's hard for me as someone who went through all that, be uncomfortable, struggle, not want to do it, but end up doing it, and then end up getting what I wanted. I'm like, you got to get on the other side of hard. Like, that's the only way you reach what you want. You got to go through hard. And so when you're getting complaints back about the hard, I get it. Who the cares?
Right. You know what I mean? Got to get out your comfort zone, man. Get on the other side of hard. Again, that working hard for the thing, and then, you know, just having the fortitude to press through, you know, to get to that prize, man, means everything. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I agree with Dwyane Wade. Like I said, man, to him, hats off to him, because, you know what I mean? Like, this interview, I feel like showed me a lot and taught me a lot about, again, D Wade, and helped me to kind of absorb, you know, him as a person a little bit different. I'm used to him as the basketball player, but not as the father. You know what I mean? Not as the mentor. You know what I mean? The leader in the house, or the leader, you know, for the young man who's coming up, man. So that was just powerful to learn and to see a different side of him. So kudos to him, man. Kudos to Zaire. Hopefully, you know what I mean, the brother, you know, continues his journey and keeps the right mindset, man, to ultimately get, as I said, to the goal that is suitable and satisfactory, man, for him, whether that's putting on an NBA jersey at some point or playing, you know what I mean, in professional leagues overseas. You know, God bless the brother, man. Good luck to him. So I just wanted to share that information. Not sure if you guys have already stumbled across it, but hopefully you found some enjoyment there. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure that you subscribe. Click that like button for me once again, so that we can cruise along Algorithm Avenue, and this content can get into the presence of individuals like yourself who absolutely love it. I'll catch you guys in the next episode, man. Until then, blessings.